Many of you who have known me for a long time know me as an acupuncturist. I work with Chinese medicine. They know me as an internal martial arts practitioner, such as Xing Yi Chuan Bagua. My journey began when I was about 13, per se. So people see me based on that, and they know me that way. For many, many years, decades, I have kept quiet as to revelations and I would say self-prophecies that came to me via dreams and whatnot, and my meditative state. So in my 20s and 30s, my subconscious mind was like hyper vigilant, but my conscious mind was not yet ready. So that was part of my journey to become more self-aware. And the reason why I'm relaying this information is because it's not normally my nature to just speak, or hasn't been my nature to just speak when something very clear like night and day is being revealed to me. So today is my necessary attempt to reach out. It was beyond me. Normally I would just like allow things just to be, because that's kind of like my nature, to allow nature to unfold. However, I'm being asked to level up within my journey, to speak, to be a hidden dragon no more. I'm being told to speak. I have no choice. This does not belong to me. This message is, for those who know me, they know that I speak in conscious flow, natural state. They never publicly, or you would never under normal circumstances see me publicly speak in this way. Maybe privately when it pertains to people and their personal lives, from client to client, as an example. There are fragments of information that came to me way before Hurricane, maybe 6 months before Hurricane Katrina. How many years ago was that? Like 2 decades ago. And they started to come to me in revelations as to what was going to happen in the future. And at the time, I knew it wasn't for me to speak, because I also knew that there was nothing I could do to control it. So that was my inner journey, the self-conflict of saying, so why am I getting these messages? And why is it like very specific, sometimes many years apart? So now, as I'm receiving more of this fragment information, as far as my experiences, it's all pieced together collectively for me to be able to see things, almost like someone who can actually see in the through the telescope of like one of those kaleidoscopes, and you see things. And as long as you like, if you try to like logically try to understand a kaleidoscope, then you're going to miss the point, and you're going to miss the actual symbolic communication as to how your soul communicates, your higher self, angels per se, and your original soul language. Many people are calling light codes or light language, right? And that is the dimension that one will start to receive or to be able to communicate. And if not consciously, many of us do it within the astral realm, as far as the dream state realm, right? And some people do transmissions when they go into deep trance or deep meditative states. And the challenge is always to try to keep and uphold that information into the conscious mind. And I'm not going to get into that, but that's another conversation. I don't want to go into too many specifics because I don't want to flag or trigger this video. So I'm trying to be vague on purpose. So many people are aware of things such as chemtrails, and a lot of things are happening. And now it's no longer a conspiracy theory. At least what publicly they are saying is that now they are trying to do what? They are trying to block or to limit the sunlight, because there's too much EMF frequency fields of communication that's coming here, and it's making a lot of people sick as far as that's what they're delivering. And there's truths behind that, but that's just what they want you to see. It goes much deeper. Of course, they're not going to spell it out for you, because then it's like almost like saying game over if they do spell it out. And they don't want you to awaken. They're okay with you being more conscious, because then they can start to, maneuver and help co-create with your subconscious mind a new kind of like falsified sense of a matrix to keep you within the next 2,000 years waiting for Christ consciousness or Jesus or whoever you see is coming to save you to come again. That was 2,000 years ago, and we're still waiting, right? Many of us are in 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and today this generation is happening. And if you go into the scripture and history, it's been happening for thousands of years. So with the way you kind of like start to see things, if you're capable or able to with no judgment, and if you're able to put aside your belief system, and if you can't, then this message is going to irk a lot of people. And I really have no patience or interest for those kind of people, but I do enjoy when you do listen, because I do know that there's something beautiful and powerful for you within the realm of conflict and feeling antagonized or triggered, you may want to say. But that's not how a wise friend of mine once told me, that's not my monkey. That's not even my carnival. So there are many things that's been happening since 2020. Just follow the news and you know what I'm talking about. There's been many, if you go beyond the conspiracy theories and you see what's been happening maybe to yourself or to family members all around us, it spells it out right in front of you. There are biological, spiritual, emotional, and physical attacks that are happening. And not one attack actually is necessarily designed to conquer all. However, collectively, they are playing a symphony that if you're not listening, you're not going to hear. And that's the message for today. It's important that we start hearing. Now, we all know that we have two sets of ears. You have your outer ears, but you also have your inner ear. You have also your inner ability to hear, so that when you speak outside, right, your reality, you co-create your reality when you speak. And you can change your reality. You can actually tell lies and make that truth, right? And not believe in it and just like say it that way. Maybe you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, right? Like a little white lie. However, when you speak, your inner ear doesn't know the difference, because that goes straight into your subconscious mind. It goes straight into the nervous system. Your inner hearing will, it's almost like programming something into Google. It's like you're asking a question and Google has no choice but to just respond based on that. And that's what your subconscious mind does. So most of us that are becoming more conscious still have no connection with their subconscious mind, because it requires work of purging. It requires work of eating a certain way, depending on your blueprint and your actual biology, I would say your inner technology. And even if you have natural abilities, because like I mentioned before, there are so many biological, psychological attacks on your embodiment, it's very hard to focus. It's very hard to remain clear. It doesn't matter how much you meditate. It doesn't matter how much you tap into yourself. As I always say to myself, hermit mode. It comes to a point where you have to go deeper when called upon. And for those that understand, relate, resonate, even if you haven't arrived there, but you're on the works, right? You're conscious of everything I'm saying, and in your own way, you relate to me. It might be your way, right? But you're like, wow, that brother right there, I get that, in general. That essentially opens the door that it's not that you trust me, but you trust yourself enough to say that symphony, the way he speaks, he resonates to my heart. That's who I'm speaking to. So the people who are musicians, so the people who can hear, right? Or feel when someone's coming in, and they could relate, or they know when that person may not be the person to relate with. Doesn't mean a bad person, but they can see who feels in the room with different energies. That's important more than ever to understand. I am saying this because this is another necessary power that you require to possess, the ability to listen to when it's your voice, to when it's your frequency, when it's source consciousness, Christ consciousness, nirvana consciousness, Shakti consciousness, right? Salsa consciousness. When you're listening to music, you know how it brings you down and it moves your hips and your waist, right? You understand sound and resonance, but it's important for you to go deeper. There's a reason why. There was a message that was brought to me, and it was loud and clear, and it was very specific to me, and it took me some time to deliver this message, because I needed to decipher, to sort of discern if that message was just for me personally, or was it something that I needed to kind of like to start to speak, because sometimes it could be one or the other. So it came to me in a vision about 4 days ago. I was sleeping and I was in the astral realm, and I was in a forest. And in this forest were 3 monks dressed in plain clothes. They noticed me. I noticed them. I was passing through the forest because it's something that I like to do. And I was cutting through. I was about to transition into another astral reality, or you would say switching dreams, if you're understanding it that way. And right before I left, it's almost like I felt them ready up. So I saw them and they were in my peripheral vision. And I noticed them. I'm like, wow, they're like monks. And I felt a little weird and strange when I saw them. And I felt their energy. I was like, are they like monks that used to be monks? Not just because they were dressed in regular clothes, but it's like something in their field. And I didn't want to go deeper into it. So I was about to check out naturally. And those 3 monks, they stood together and they started to chant. Again, I wasn't sure they were monks, but they started to chant like, and they had 3 different frequencies of resonance when they chanted, but they were all almost in the baritone, basically in the baritone frequency, but they had specific assignments when they chanted. So it caught my ears naturally, right? And I heard them and I started to say, wow, was I judging them? Literally when I was in my dream state, was I judging them? Maybe they are monks. And here I am like about to check out because I feel like there's something about them that didn't feel kind of like pure. And without judging, it was like just not my show. Interesting enough, as I was delivering this message, I had enough battery to finish my video, and somehow the battery completely drained. So I stayed in the forest where I was recording near me, and I figured let me do some leg exercises, because that's what I like to do when I'm in the woods, and some like stances and kicks, like qigong, you know, like the martial arts stuff that I like to do. And as it started to get darker, I figured let me finish the video when I get back and I'll charge my phone a bit. So again, I was doing my exercises to start to get dark, and as I started to, when I digressed and I finished my training, I started to put my stuff away. I sat down on the ground so that I could ground and earth a little bit. And I sat down, and all of a sudden this bee came, and I have, you know, if for those that know me, I have a strong affinity in the elemental realm. You know, you name it. You know, I love the animals and whatnot, and the insects, spiders. I walk with spiders. And the bees, they come to me, especially when I'm in the right frequency. You know, even when you're not supposed to see bees, they tend to come around. It's like the coolest thing for me, my experiences. So this bee comes, and I hear it, and I'm like, woo, positive vibes, right? And it comes, and it goes right into my left eye. I don't know if that's showing left, but my left eye, I might be showing reverse on the camera. And it went right here. So of course my original reaction was to panic. And I'm like, it's going to like sting me in my eyeball. I don't need that. And funny enough, something was telling me to stay relaxed, because every time a spider or an insect comes to me, it always delivers a message. If only I just would, and I'm repeating this over and over, because this is again, the reason for this message is to pay attention, to listen. So that's what I said to myself. So I always wanted to just like swap it so I didn't hurt the bee, because I'm like, I don't need that to to go and, you know, sting me. Not there. I was like, anywhere else on my body, but not in my eye or around there. But then I realized, what am I eliciting this fear for? It's there for a reason. So I sat there, and the first my instinctual sense was like, okay, it's usually when bees are around you, they have healing energy with just the sound of the vibration. So I felt like this bee was working with me along with Mother Nature. And again, I wasn't sure. So it was almost like keeping my eyes open, right? Keep your eyes open, relaxed. So the funny thing is that I had to close my eyes because I didn't want it to go in my eye. So it, in a sense, it was saying, keep your eye open. And I still had that nervous tick of a sensation, say, oh, I got the message. I want to go like this, you know, and this just happened right now in between the recordings. And so I sat there and I waited, and there was some communication that started to come to me, kind of like opened up a frequency of me grounding in a certain way. I started to receive the bee's frequency. It wasn't in my conscious mind. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But I felt myself receiving something, and I started to see colors, especially when I felt the energy receive, and I closed my eyes and just like submitting to the moment with the bee. And it helped me to clear some energy, some fears, because this is what happened. And this is not even the dream yet, but this is all connecting, is just what I'm saying. All of this is connecting, meaning like the 3D, the physical reality, and the astral realm is starting to merge for many of us that are starting to become more conscious and even awakened. So it's important that I speak for those that have the ears to hear, to really hear, even if they're just curious, so that they can start to understand that now, more than ever, you're going to start meeting people, I'm not saying just like me, but people from all fields, and they're going to start showing things that you can only see in it's just not going to make any sense. You're going to start to see like people with certain powers and abilities, and you're going to say, what the heck is that, right? So as the bee left, I got up and I decided and it started to get dark in the woods. And I started to walk towards my car, and it started to get dark, and I started to feel like shift between daylight and nighttime. Anybody can feel that, right? But in specific, it started to feel almost like eerie, as if like I could like almost like smell, taste, and hear the timeline shift between light and dark, like the dimension of existence, or the timelines are so thin. And it's the first time I was able to experience it like that without actually going into like some form of meditative sense, and it was just me just walking. So it showed me that a lot of things are transitioning. However, as I was walking, I started to realize that what was in my dream, which is what I'm going to finish with the first part of the video, is what came to me in the vision, is that I was actually in the woods, just like the dream. And I started to experience and feel those three monks there, as if they've always been there. So that confirmed one thing that I wasn't sure if I was going to share, is that these monks, and I'm going to go back to the dream, they represent an entire parallel reality. And you get to be the judge if you think that they were bad news bears and they were trying to like really come at me, or if they were actually messengers and actual warriors from that reality. And this was the way that they knew how to get through my head, so that they could connect with me, because I was open enough to be able to see them and they saw me. So the message needed to be transferred between parallel realities. Now, let's go back to the rest of the the dream that I was experiencing, and then this part will make sense with that one. So those monks, as I was exiting into another reality, another dream, you know how when you switch dreams, but I'm conscious of when I switch dreams, I'm conscious of it, not all the time, but I would say 7, 8 out of 10 times, especially when it's a dream that I need to remember for my highest good, especially if it's for the greatest good of all beings, even if it's personal to me, because it's all about inner cultivation, right? So as I was exiting out and I started to hear the three monks chant, then I started to say, am I guilt? Was I judging them in the dream? Because I said, maybe they are monks because they sounded beautiful. And I'm like, for them to be able to chant like that, it has to be like years and years of work, just like they're being into themselves and whatnot. And as far as what was going in my head. But when they started to chant, it started to go deeper, and I started to like listen to it and hear it. And the three sounds, the only way I can explain it is that when they started to merge in waves, like think of 3 waves, 3 men singing, and 3 different tones of baritone, whatnot. When they started to synchronize, almost like 3 keys coming together, then it's like, think of like the Vesica Pisces. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but if you get 2 orbs, like yin and yang, and you create 2 fields of 2 like polar opposites or whatnot, or 2, or almost like the infinity, and you get them to kind of like vibrate at a certain way, you get like almost like the Vesica Pisces, you get like a portal that creates between the 2 circles. So it's like the 2 circles don't necessarily integrate into one, and they're not apart. But if you get that right sequence between the 2, you get this kind of like a slit of a dimension of a portal, in the same way that a child is born. It's the same frequency as far as the birth of a child in the 3D, as far as the soul that enters into this realm, if you want to go into sacred geometry per se. So those 3 monks started to create that sequence in my experience, because as I was in my dream state and I heard that, I was at awe. I was like, wow, they're like really, oh. And as it started to synchronize, then I started to see like an opening in the middle. And when I did that, as soon as I paid attention to the center of that, I got stuck. I felt trapped. I felt like my soul, my entire embodiment was like in a fly trap. It kind of like spazzed out. It's like, if I could describe what my version of like how how you would say a transient stroke would be. That's exactly how I would explain it, since I never experienced it. So I'm not sure if it's exactly that, but it felt like that, like my everything, all about me just stayed there for about, it felt like maybe a good 10 seconds easy. And it caught me there, and it stilled me in a sense, almost like, I can't explain it, but it stilled me. What got me out of it was my cat. Now I'm in another state. I'm not in New Jersey. I'm in Arizona right now. And my cat, Irene, she's all the way up in New Jersey. She actually came, and just like she would normally wake me up at nighttime, she actually jumped on my laps, my lap. And she jumped on me, and she woke me up. And got me out of that, because that's not the first time that she's actually protected me in the astral realm. And another message is also that, like, your pets, your animals, especially now more than ever, pay attention if they're sick. Pay attention to see what their health is. It's because they're probably working really hard to protect you, because there's a lot of things happening in the astral realm that if you're not paying attention and you're not seeing, then you're not going to see how it impacts you in the 3D realm. So I'm trying to explain to you an experience of what's culminating, Vesica Pisces, one reality, dream state realm, another reality, 3D realm, as far as where we're the physical realm, and if those realities kind of like merge in a certain way with the right frequency, a portal will open between the veil or the separation of when you're asleep and you're in that frequency. What is that, theta or something like that? And then when you're awake, like alpha, and that's resonance, that's sound, that's frequency. That's what puts you to wake up, right? And then when you start falling asleep, there's a frequency that actually puts you into rapid eye movement, and it's all measurable. This is important, because we're talking that we're not separating spirituality with the sacred science, sacred geometry, sacred knowing, sacred mathematics of the measurable aspects of what can be proven to yourself, so that you can better prepare yourself here in the physical realm. What I took out of the dream, which took me time to interpret, was that I thought that those monks were out to attack me, but what I realized that they were actual Renaissance. They were actual like warriors. They were actually in that parallel reality. And somehow my conscious mind didn't know, but subconsciously we met up in the in-between of the astral realm, of this actual spiritual attack that's happening in their realm. Almost like this parallel reality in this earth is happening, and they've been taking over with the second coming of what everybody believes in. The second coming of a particular savior. They all bought into it, and it wasn't that. Because people who are expecting the second coming are not familiar and aware that they are receivers, so they won't know the frequency. Okay, so this is my next attempt. I apologize, but obviously there are energies that do not want me to put out this video. All of a sudden my memory was full of my phone. Go figure. So where was I? If that particular savior comes and you don't know thyself, you don't know how to hear, you don't know how to receive, you only know from a 3D realm what's true and what's false, how do you know for sure? How do you know? Because when that individual comes, it's not going to look any different than someone like me saying, if I said I was the one, and here I am with millions of people posting on social media, and here comes this individual. Is he going to come with the president of the United States? Is he going to come with somebody really high and they're going to vouch for him? Is he going to speak on social media? Nobody's going to believe him when he comes. We're so infiltrated with so much over-information. The only way you're going to believe him is if he comes in like almost like this bruja, like this witch per se, because he's going to have to show things happening and trust. If that's what you need for you to see and to believe that that is it, you're doomed, because that is not him. That is not how he works. But it seems like you're going to have to see another kind of like resurrection for him to come, and he's going to come. And how do you know it's him? How do you not know it's other technologies that's blinding you and fooling you? You don't even know when it rains or if it snows naturally. You don't even know that there's technologies, or you do know that there's technologies, but just like myself, you don't know when it's natural or not natural. You don't know when humans are altering natural, the nature of things, as you're seeing chemtrails everywhere trying to, again, like I said before, block the sun. Why? We just sitting here complaining about it. Because once you understand why they're doing this, you should be able to remember that you are not a slave. You are a prisoner. And that feels different. One is like, you have no power. There's nothing to do. Let's wait for something else to fix it. But then the other side says, it's time for me to regalvanize. It's time for me to bring back and return my gifts. It's time for me to remember. It's time for me to pay attention. It's time, it's time, it's time. It's time to recollaborate. It's time to change my diet. It's time to change the way I see things. It's time to, again, pay attention. It can't be that I'm like the only one around the people that I know and speaks like this. Because I probably sound crazy for those that saw me or have known me growing up. But best believe, I'm not the only one. I'm completely in resonance with those that I get to meet every single day. Why? Because that's my frequency. I've been cloaked. I needed to. When I was younger, I wasn't conscious yet. But when I became conscious, it was just a matter of time. And now we are awakening. We are here. And now we can't stop and not speak anymore. There are collapses that must take place naturally that's keeping us from being more conscious. It's already a challenge by itself with one person trying to get beyond the conditioning that we've been indoctrinated just by being born here. That's you almost not even be able to get out of that in one lifetime. But they made it so much harder. It's up to you to start to remembering that the spiritual warfare that began way before this planet was created. Way before scripture that you get to read in the language that you speak, translated so many times, has been created. The waves have been always there. So there's been ascended beings that came to be able to speak. However, it's up to the individual, you right now on the other side of the camera, to take all of this information, not just information, but everything that you've experienced in your whole life, and take all of this fragmented information and like looking at a kaleidoscope, or like an astrologer with spirituality now connected, ready to receive and pay attention to see what is everything. What is everything trying to say to me? Why the other day, right before I had this dream, an insect got stuck in my ear. It never happens. And I freaked out because I didn't want to kill it, because I don't like to do that. And I'm like thinking it's going to go in my brain. And I had to take it out, and I'm screaming, ah! And afterwards, I had to pay attention. It was another fragment of information. The elementals, the birds. Listen to them when you go outside. It's not just me. Listen and feel the information even when I speak. How you feel. Look into my eyes. See the information and energy traveling between us. For some people who are more tapped in psychically, or clairvoyant per se, as an example, or more empathic, they can see that the way the room shifts when people like me and you per se, or that person connects, because that's how humans communicate. It's beyond the five senses. So I know myself. Going back to the dream, I'm highly attuned to who I am beyond the mask that people see when they meet me, because I honor everyone in their frequencies. That's my nature. Doesn't matter who I am to someone else. That's what I'm trying to say. What matters is who I am, as I am just a simple process evolving just like you. The only difference is I know is that my highest good is always the greatest good of all beings. in ways that are both conscious and maybe not conscious to me. It just is. It's natural for me. I say this because I'm highly attuned to the higher realms beyond the astral at times when I need to anchor energy, because it's not easy to anchor energy into the 3D as I still exist in this embodiment. So I go through things just like anybody else. I'm not saying that. I just am expanded because I dedicated an entire life since early 1989 and up, with the good, bad, and ugly. Not speaking to most people because they wouldn't even understand. I didn't even understand when I was speaking because I was trying to put it together. So this is not like today where I'm just like speaking. This is like an evolution of my experiences, and no different than yours. You have information that I probably require the same. The only difference is I'm aware that I may never meet you, but somehow by you paying attention to this video, I receive it. And all you need to do in your end and in your way also receive too when you're speaking to someone else, that even if it's somebody that you don't relate to completely, there's something of beautiful information that's always going to be delivered as a fragment. Some people say fractal, like the smallest measurement or the smallest unit of energy, of God's spark, of creation. See, we have lost our God spark because the only way to be birthed in this planet is with the spark of source. And then we've been indoctrinated to say we've lost it or we've never had it. And we need to like actually die in this physical body, which I'm not saying is not true. But it's one perspective of an entire way of seeing that's seemingly limitless. That's why my way will never look like yours. But we still haven't gotten a chance to get past the ability to honor each other in conversations such as, let's say, this one, and you're listening to me and just receiving wholeheartedly, knowing when somebody's speaking from their heart. Those three souls, with their technology, was able to hold me and trap me momentarily, even though I know myself in the astral realm. How? Very ancient technology that ascended master beings, myself, yourself, if we even train to. That's why the harmonics of music, you hear music all the time. It can entertain you. It can possess you, and to some degree, it will alter your DNA. All music, all sound, all resonance alters your DNA. Your DNA contracts and expands, scientifically already proven and measured. So imagine that just through sound, beyond your belief mechanisms, beyond your spiritual protection, sound is sound is sound. It just vibrates instantaneously into your DNA, re-encoding it. If you're not familiar with who you're not. So the message for me wasn't for me to be afraid or to protect myself even stronger. I'm not saying not to do that, but that wasn't the message. The message was that the collective, for those that are still not there yet, it's going to be a tough ride. And it's up to you, soldier. I'm talking about both sides of the yin and yang, right? Spiritual warrior, it's time for you to train not just your discernment, but not just you as being a receiver, but now knowing yourself and altering it and not being afraid to test your frequency when you speak and hear yourself speaking the same. Look up the ionosphere per se. It's like the lively electrons or radicals layered above our atmosphere, and it's it's science, I guess, and that is the technology that they measure, that they coin. So you get the ionosphere, you can research it, as to how GPS works, as to how AM/FM radio works, right? As to technology such as HAARP and how they're able to use sound, really, really powerful, highly amplified, you would say, frequencies of sound that are very specific to change the weather, to change how someone can actually emotionally feel. It's been used scripturally in warfare for a very long time, hidden in codes in the story and in encryptions. You can actually understand the technology if you go beyond the story of any scripture. You can pick it up if that's what you're interested in, but you have to actually be sincere. You have to go beyond, and you have to almost hear the music of the one who wrote the Bible. You can't say God wrote the Bible whenever you read it. If you do that, then forget about it. I'm not talking to you. It's a waste of my energy to speak to you because I know where that topic is heading. You have to be able to discern within your inner journey. I don't care if you believe me or not. I'm here to awaken the lions and the lionesses once again. That because I'm speaking, not necessarily because of my words, but when my heart speaks. Whether or not they see it right now with this platform, that's a wave. So again, whether I get 1 like, 1,000 likes, whether I'm understood or not, I'm not speaking simply to you and your conscious mind. When I speak, just like once you understand you to speak the same, I speak to the collective subconscious, which is more of a reality than the one we're living here. Not that it's more in a sense where that's real and this is false, meaning that here we're living a fragment of that reality, which is 100% us. But our expanded self, we were never separate. We were just taught through religion, conditioning, financial field, and all of the institutions, educational, belief systems, norms, culture, races. Yes, we all come from different bloodlines. If you go into astrology and you want to go deeper into that, I'm not disagreeing. But even in those layers, we are cosmically, universally not separate. So the last part is the ionosphere is how we gather or we have the capacity to gather our battery pack of information as when we breathe. That's why in Qigong and in yoga and meditation, we learn how to use the energies that are alive, just as alive as you are. See, God's spark, your source spark, God consciousness isn't everything that you notice and everything that you don't. It's not limited to just the soul of a human. We just are thought to believe that. And in your time, if you think like that, you will evolve. And you're not wrong, because you need to be 100% of that natural process of evolution. But you can't come up to somebody and tell them they're full of nonsense. If you do, you just got a lot more evolving to do. So with that ionosphere, there's different layers to it. But understand that that can be altered, and that can actually alter our thinking and rational thinking abilities and our emotional state body with changes of frequency using modern technology. But there's ancient technology that has been tapped in and altered into. And whether this is a test and an experiment on humanity or it's the real deal, it doesn't matter. It's important for you to know thyself to a point, because these sounds, you're not going to hear it like that. And you're not going to see it like that. Whatever you see out here and hear out there is the illusion of information that you're also going to receive, because it's also important to see the false, not separate with the truth. And when you get both false and truth, then you can take both and decode it. And that's when you discern. But you can't do that if you can't get past the story of any scripture, hieroglyphics, his story, not even her stories are in around it, his own stories in it, any history books. Use that information and alchemize it. And if you're not sure, ask your own guides in your way as to how to put it together. You don't have to ask me. I'm not asking you. You're not going to know the answer of what I need to know for my highest good. That's me to me to me. That's private. So like for somebody to ask me how do you work with your private nature, that's none of anybody's concern. That's why it's kind of like a joke when somebody says, what's your religion? It's because once you're so intimate to who you are, it's almost like saying, well, it's also ridiculous to even say that, what's your gender? It's like, who cares? It's none of anybody's business. That's private to you and yourself. Now's the time to go deeper, is the message. And know that there's going to be things beyond our control that you're going to see. And it's time for you to know thyself enough to know what to do what's the next move when that time comes. And hear me beyond my words. I hope this resonated.